exchange, do project units, as well as do optional internships that are available as part of the partnerships that we offer. You can also actually choose as a measure of flexibility that is very, very popular for a lot of students coming to the university, a second major from 135 choices in the shared pool, where you can actually join up, for example, the Faculty of Arts and the Faculty of Sciences in a single 3-year degree and do two majors that gives you a very multidisciplinary outcome. And now from all of that, it does mean that your second major, no matter which sort of degree you actually end up choosing, you can do a second major in engineering, in medicine and health, in music, in business, sciences, social work. It is basically your choice what you want to actually do. And this gives a flexibility for students who, for example, are interested in Bachelor of Advanced Computing. Normally, you'd be studying very data heavy, for example, data heavy subject areas such as computer science, cybersecurity, software development. For our degrees, Bachelor of Advanced Computing is a 4-year undergraduate degree that includes a honors research component. But the best thing about this degree is you can actually choose a second major from the shared pool. And so it means you can really join up those computer science majors with something such as music, finance, linguistics, genetics, to really actually look into different possibilities in your research and your career opportunities as well. And our students aren't just going to typical computer science or startups. They're actually being hired by the banks. They're being hired by nonprofits. They're working in the medical industry, for example. It really opens up many doors for them to actually expand their skill set or go into niche areas after they graduate. And this is not just available in obviously computer science, that's an example, but it is available in other things such as a business degree, our visual arts degrees, arts and sciences, to really make the most of what you're able to do. Now, the second section of sort of second batch of degrees that we classify is all our professional qualification degrees. Now, these degrees are minimum 4 years, mainly because they are accredited and protected professional degrees. Now, these are the degrees that where you complete to become an engineer, an architect, a social worker, a teacher, a doctor, a nurse, etc. These are degrees where you have to actually have accreditation, continued learning, and you become a professional essentially. There's more structured coursework, and so that does sort of mean that it's less flexible. You don't get to choose a second major. It's specific to the profession that you're completing, and it has very few exchange opportunities, but it has compulsory work integrated learning and internship hours. And so what it means is that those 4 years is purely structured for you to actually become whatever you need to be and pass those exams or board exams or whatnot to become an engineer, a doctor, an architect, and teacher, etc. Right? So these are really just, the professional qualification degrees, as the name suggests. Now, these include, if you're looking at engineering, for example, the engineering specialties that we have are listed as here. That includes civil engineering, biomedical, aeronautical, space, software, breadth, and depth specializations. And then if you're looking at medicine and health degrees, for example, the University of Sydney does have Australia's widest array of health courses, where you can actually have a career in medicine and health, which we split up into allied health, or medicine and nursing, for example. And for us, we're one of the only universities currently offering pharmacy for students who are interested. And we also offer speech pathology, diagnostic radiography, occupational therapy, and physiotherapy. Nursing is also one of our most popular degrees as well. So yeah. Now, I'm not sure anyone here would be interested in, for example, medicine and health. If you are, you may put up your hand and I could go through it, but I'm not entirely sure sometimes. Oh, okay, not many people interested in medicine and health, and that's okay, no problem at all. Now, moving on from there, outside of your degree, so you're not just doing what we have 2 semesters at our university. And so there's a huge chunk out of it where you're actually not studying at all. You're enjoying your holiday, you're working, you're doing internships, for example, before you actually start school. And even then, the hours that you're actually studying with us isn't going to take up your full time throughout the entire week. So we do encourage students to really take up all the opportunities that are available at the university, where they are supported from day one in terms of peer mentoring, study assistance sessions, career centers, clubs and societies, and doing workshops with us that actually benefit their overall education. Um, and one of those includes exchange opportunities. So these are things I'm really, really excited to actually talk about with our students because we have Australia's largest mobility program with over 250 international partners. We send more students than any other university in Australia for an exchange overseas, with eight agreements with super partners where we send over 400 students per year. And our goal is actually to send 50% of our cohort on some sort of international exchange, whether it's a semester or year exchange, faculty specific exchange, or even short term program, 6 week exchanges, for example. 50% of all our students have had that experience, and it is something they could put on their CV as having completed it and actually, you know, can show their employers that they've been able to actually adapt to completely different scenarios around the world, working with different cultures and different nationalities and adapting to that as well. So it's a really exciting opportunity. We are very sort of enthusiastic about, and we also have scholarships available for to send students to our scholarship, our exchange opportunity as well. Aside from that, industry placements and research programs as well are one of the big things that we have, especially for students who are in the liberal arts degrees. Faculty of Arts and Social Science have their own partnerships with over 50 corporate non profit and government institutions around Sydney where you can actually take on internships and research placements to really work on your knowledge and hone those multidisciplinary skills you're learning about. And then on top of that, even during your study, interdisciplinary project units mean that you're not just working with people from your own degree, you're working with people from other degrees to actually solve problems that are given to us by our industry partners. And that you can actually present to real life corporate individuals to actually get feedback and actually have a chance to have your project solutions adapted into a real world problem. So those are really exciting opportunities for our students because it means that we are getting actual real world and real time feedback as well on what they're learning and what they're doing. We also have a dedicated career center. So international students that actually come to Australia have the exact same rights as domestic students when it comes to your working rights. We're very, very, very union heavy and kind of legal framework heavy country. We have minimum wages for students. So that means that if you're coming to work, even as a casual worker, for example, you have specific rights. You're required to be paid a specific amount, which at the moment is about 24 Australian dollars per hour of work. And I think that is, if I skip to the front, that is about several last I looked is like 50,000 pesos, I think, per hour. I'm not sure if Sophia, if that's correct in my exchange, but I'll get to the exchange conversion later. But it is quite a lot for an 18-year-old, and you get more as you actually kind of age out as well. You also get to do a lot of workshops with our partners, and the Career Centre helps you write your resume, adapt to the working conditions in Australia so they actually learn about how to find a job, how to interview, and how to actually adapt to the cultural work around in Sydney so that, during your degree and after your degree, you're going to have higher chances of being actually hired. Now, these are some of the partners and the partners in across mobility, research, and industry that we work with, and that includes Microsoft, Blackmores, Google, EY, United, the United Nations, CSIRO, Telstra, and San Diego Zoo. So these are the type of companies that we actually have research opportunities with, and not only that, partnerships and industry internships with as well. Now, it's really important that you do find a community that you would like to actually have your support of in the university. And we have over 200 clubs and societies for you to really choose from. There's always something happening on campus as well, besides from just Welcome Week when you actually start university, which happens every single semester. But we also have obviously societies for creative arts and performances, ethnocultural societies and food and beverage societies, humanitarian community aid societies, as well as professional societies that you can actually join to really have an active social life. Now, for the University of Sydney, we have our own Filipino Student Society who work really, really hard to make our incoming Filipino students feel very welcome. We have about 50 students coming each semester, and so they join our Filipino Student Society to really make sense of, navigating their new home in Sydney, as well as the university itself as well. And these kids run events throughout the semester, study sessions, salubongs, welcome week, karaoke nights. And they do amazing and they do so much work. I'm so proud of working with them. And if you want to find out about more of what they do at the university, feel free to actually find their social media accounts to hear from our actually executive team. Oh, yes. And so work opportunities here for students, for example, as part of your student visa, you are legally allowed to work in Australia anywhere for about 24 hours per week. And you'll have a post-study work opportunities of being able to apply for a visa to work after graduating for up to 2 years after you graduate. And that's really exciting for some students who want to actually apply their skills and their knowledge right after graduating in a different country before perhaps going back home to their family businesses or to actually find work in the Philippines as well. Or not just that, but around the world, because our degrees are very well recognized as well. Now, one of the most important questions that I get asked all the time is scholarships and funding. So we have a lot of different scholarships and funding that is available for students. And that is not just, for example, for I guess, actually, yes, that's not just available no, sorry, let me repeat that. Each scholarship has different terms and conditions, and they are available in varying eligibility requirements as well. So it's always really good to actually go on that are available and go through the eligibility requirements if it is suitable or if you match the criteria to be able to apply. We have three main scholarships that I would like to introduce to you today that most of you should be able to apply for, and it's actually open to most of you as well. And that includes the Sydney International Student Award for the Philippines. And so this is for anyone currently holding Filipino citizenship or even dual citizenship with the Philippines, where you are eligible to receive a 20% contribution from the university towards your total tuition fee for the entire duration of your course. Now, this means you get 20% of your tuition fee covered by the university for your 4-year degree, 5-year degree, 6-year degree, even your 7-year double degree, if you are able to actually get into that course. And all you need to do to actually apply is submit a 600-word personal statement answering 3 questions, and that can be submitted along with your application. There is a very high chance for students from the Philippines to actually receive this scholarship, and it is unlimited. So there is no limit to how many students are receiving this 20%. Now, we also have a 100% scholarship that we're issuing to high achieving international students. And so this means that it is 100% fee waiver for your entire 4-year, up to 4-year degree at the university. And we're issuing about 40 of these to high achieving students who are able to demonstrate a high final IB score, high SAT score to enter the university. And you need to require, and all you need to actually be is a school leaver. So you have to have applied straight from high school. And you need to have to submit a separate online application to us as well. These are all the other merit scholarships that we also have available for international students as well. We have our Vice Chancellor's International Scholarship, for example, where high achieving students can receive a one-off $40,000 to $20,000 amount. Scholarships for faculty-based issues, so that's $20,000 per year. Engineering allows for about $13,000 per year. So there are varying eligibility, as you can actually see from some of these scholarships. And I do encourage you to apply for all the scholarships that you are eligible for, because you can actually stack some of them. So you actually maximize your financial opportunities at the university. Now, as I was saying before, to actually apply to the university, it's actually generally really easy. And it is not just easy, it's also really transparent, especially for students if you're doing the IB or if you're doing the K-12 high school diploma. Now, we don't, again, to repeat, we don't actually need any references, we don't need any essays, we don't need any personal statements, and neither do we actually need additional entrance testing. All we need from students who are currently doing the K-12 Philippines high school diploma is English language test and an SAT exam. And you'll be admitted based on the SAT score that you have. If you have the IB diploma, all we need from you is the IB final score or predicted score. And that's it, right? And you can actually go in straight into the bachelor degree first year as a freshman. Now, if you are looking to actually wanting to enter, but you don't want to do the SAT and you don't want to do English language testing, for example, we do have foundation studies that students can complete, and then that will give a direct pathway into the University of Sydney. Additional criteria is very rare, except for a couple of handful degrees such as music, nursing, veterinary medicine, and dental and actual medicine. And so those are only very, very few. But otherwise, the only requirements that we have for our students is to actually submit academic results and English results, and that's it for assessment. To give you an idea of actually how we make assessments or how we admit students, it's simply based on your SAT score. Every course that we have has a different SAT entry requirement. If you meet the entry requirement, and that is the minimum SAT score required for that degree, you are virtually guaranteed an offer, for example. So the Bachelor of Science, for example, has a SAT requirement of about, I believe it is a 1180. If you have a 1180 exactly SAT, you will be made an offer for the Bachelor of Science. All right. There is no ifs or buts, and these results these entry requirements are published ahead of time, about 6 months to a year on our website, so that students know what to aim for. And there is no doubt about what your chances of getting into university is. And so if that's the type of admissions experience that you'd like, Australian universities are really much for you, because like I said, we set the standard for the admissions requirements at admissions sort of process across Australia, and most universities have this exact same entry requirements as well. Now, if you are looking to apply as well, I do only encourage you to apply as soon as you have your SAT or predicted IB results. Because if you submit your application without any of those documents, we can't assess anything, right? But our applications do open 12 to 18 months prior. So 2026 applications for our degrees are already open for semester 1 or 2. And it is as simple as submitting an application online by typing into our course page the degree that you're after, selecting the year that you're looking at, and then just clicking apply and inputting your details, uploading your transcript, your SAT, and your English. And that's pretty much it. If you would like to actually apply for any sort of scholarships, then that will be a separate application, except for the Sydney International Student Award, which you can be prompted to actually apply separately for on the website during the application process as well. You can upload that, and then you'll be able to actually receive the scholarship outcome along with your admissions outcome, so that you actually have some assurance to know whether you are, where you're going in about 6 months' time as well, especially if you're someone who likes to plan ahead. Okay. Now, that's a very, very quick and brief summary of all the opportunities that you can have at the University of Sydney. If you actually have any questions after this, especially, please feel free to contact me on WhatsApp or even email me. The QR code is on the screen, so you can actually access all the information that I spoke about today, including scholarships, admissions requirements, as well as my information and contact details as well. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to pop that into the chat box, and I'd be more than happy to actually assist you with that as well.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chang, and the University of Sydney for allowing us to have an opportunity to be able to hear and see inside of your university. So similar to the other sessions, the stage will now be open to any additional questions from the audience. So if you have a question, just feel free to type it in the chat box and send it to everyone, or address it to me or to Miss Chang. Yeah. So yeah, feel free to ask questions, guys. Thank you so much, Miss Chang. It was really informative.
Thank you, Sophia.
Okay, so we have a question. Do college admissions evaluators typically prefer applicants who are well-rounded, or those who show a high level of expertise in a specific field?
No, so Australian admissions, as you might know, Sophia, because we're all pretty much quite similar, are actually really much only based on your academic performance. We don't look at holistic. Your extracurricular activities actually have zero, absolutely zero bearing on your admissions requirement. So we publish the results and what we actually need a student to score in the SAT or the IB to get into their course. And that is the single most important thing that you need in order to actually get admission. Because we don't look at actual extracurricular activities, because we don't expect students to actually be class president by the time they're 18. Most students don't peak around that time. They peak in like year two, year one of university. So we're not looking at someone who's actually um, reach their potential or whatnot, but we're also looking for people and students who actually are getting to that point as well. So if you haven't done anything in your high school life and you just cruised along, but you've done fairly well in your academics, you're more than welcome to actually be able to actually apply to us and be admitted. We don't really look specifically at any subject area as well. It's only really the final score that would be looking at for the IB and the SAT. So if you're really, really bad at math, but you're really, really good at other areas, you don't need to worry too much about that. Unless you're applying for a math heavy degree, then I would say that you should be worried a little. But aside from that, it's really, really simple for us and very transparent and straightforward. There are some advantages and disadvantages, obviously, of not looking at students holistically, but for us, it works very, very well. And it's also very equitable for our students to be able to get those opportunities because you transferring between degrees. So even if you don't actually get into your preferred degree of choice because your SAT isn't high enough, there is going to be a degree that matches your SAT range and you can apply for that and then transfer in the second or third year because everyone does that and it is super easy to do a internal transfer because you have multiple chances to prove yourself, if not through your SAT, then through your first year of uni or your first semester, for example, okay? So hopefully that answers your question if you're a little worried about that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I believe it did. I think it's a really good insight, like a direct comparison to US universities who care so much about extracurriculars. I think hearing this really reassures some of us students. Oh, and
Mm.
a follow-up for this, what's the admission requirements for the full tuition waiver? What are the cutoff scores?
So there is no specific cutoff score at the moment. However, the students who have received it thus far will be looking somewhere between like a 1550 plus
Ah,
SAT score or a 4445 IB. So those are the students that are receiving that thus far. As you can imagine, competition is very fierce. So it really is the highest achieving students receiving that full scholarship waiver as well.
so do you select the top 40 highest applicants or do you
Essentially,
apply for
yes.
this? Do you apply for it or do you?
Yeah, they apply for it
Oh,
specifically. So if
all
you
right.
are a student who is a top achiever, obviously you have marks for it, then you have to submit a separate application for the full scholarship because it does require you to answer submit a personal statement. So you do an online personal statement and submit that, and then you'll be considered into the round. So it's not automatic.
All right. And is it open to transfer students?
No, it's only open for high school leavers only. So
Uh,
you actually
all
have to
right.
have come straight from high school. So if you're K to 12, then you obviously it will be applying through your SAT. But if you are transferring from first after first year uni, for example, so if you've already done 1 year of university, then you won't be eligible. But if you've done less than 1 year, then you may potentially be eligible.
All right. Okay. So we have
Yeah,
four more questions as of right now.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
may I ask to expound on the medicine programs?
So you wanna know more about medicine at the
Yeah.
university. So, medicine at the university is a postgraduate degree. It might be easy if I pull up the slide for it. So let me go back, perhaps. So yeah, medicine at the University of Sydney is a postgraduate degree, and what that means, for like students is that they actually do have to have an finish their first undergraduate degree before they actually hop into the medicine section. So there are two ways to actually get into medicine, and medicine is a 4 year postgrad degree now. So you have to do a 3 year undergraduate degree to be able to get in. You can do it primarily two ways. Either you get into a double degree, which combined straight 7 years, straight from high school, and that requires a 1570 SAT to be able to actually get into the interview stage and then be selected for the 10 spots in the double degree, or you can actually apply after you finish your first undergraduate degree. And that could be from any discipline at the university. And it doesn't require interview. It's really just GPA and GAMSAT based, which is basically UMAT. So not the UMAT, which is equivalent to the MCAT. Um, and that this is the pathway where most students actually apply through because there's 70 places available, and it is more a bigger range for students. So if you don't have to worry about applying straight from high school. Most students don't get into that because there's only 10 spots available. It is guaranteed in so much that you also have to maintain a minimum GPA average, which is still quite stressful, right? And the only difference is you have an interview instead of doing the GAMSAT or the MCAT. Whereas if you're applying after you've actually done your undergraduate degree, you do the GAMSAT, but there's no interview to actually do. So there's really no advantage of actually picking one over the other because you don't get any early access to medicine, even if you're in the guaranteed double degree pathway, right? So for us, we find the postgraduate model is also, we were one of the first universities to move towards that postgraduate MD model. And now almost all university in Australia has moved towards that. The last one being, I believe, UNSW and Adelaide or Melbourne, switching to that as of next year onwards. We've been running this MD program for the last 10 years. And we find that we get students who are more mature. 20% of our students actually even come from a non-science background. So they come from subject areas such as being a lawyer, having done business, having done arts, having done music, and then by figuring out they want to be a doctor and becoming, and then actually making up that cohort as well. So we have a very, very diverse cohort of students who are doing that instead of some other degrees, for example, or some other universities which are very specific about the kind of science background that they need.
Thank you so much. All right, so we have 10 minutes left, but there's still so much questions.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
No, it's no problem, no problem. All right, so one of them asks, is there an animation or any similar arts degree for undergraduate for USAID?
Not an animation degree, but we do have a graphic sort of UX based degree. So it really depends whether or not you're looking at more traditional art, such as drawing, sculpture, pottery, glassworking, or jewelry making, for example, screen printing, graphic design. Those kind of things we have a Bachelor of Visual Arts for. If you're more look at computer design or design computing, UX, making apps, and user interface focused areas, we have a Bachelor of Design, Interactive Design degree for undergraduate students who are more interested in that space as well.
All right, there's another question. Does my socioeconomic status affect the result of my application?
No, no, we don't look at that at all either. So, yeah, so it's really literally just your SAT and English requirements from the Philippines as well that you need to submit. We do not need any documents about your finances, socioeconomic status, nada.
Yeah, so just
Mm,
to like tell everyone also, since like I have experience in applying to Australia, the socioeconomic status, that what's more important when you're applying for your student visa. So you're like how the government grants your visa, it's kind of dependent on your socioeconomic status. So yeah, that's something you can keep in mind. Okay, there's
mm.
another question. Is the university indiscriminately welcoming towards students who took a gap year?
Yeah, we don't actually care when you've actually studied or when you did a gap year, for example. We have mature students coming back to university at 25. We have, for example, Korean students, Singaporean students who need to serve national service, and they have to take a 2 to 3 year break and come back and study. So, in many, many cases, if you take a gap year, it doesn't really matter as long as you have valid academic or English results to be assessed for. We actually don't really mind what you've done in between. It's if it's obviously longer than like 1 year, like a 5 year gap, we're interested in what you've done in that period because that obviously affects your academics. But if it's just 1 year, it doesn't really matter to us at all. Yeah.
And it's the same requirements even for transfer students. Yes.
That's correct. It's the same requirement for transfer students, except if you're transferring from another university, we use your first year university results and convert that ourselves for admission.
All right. So I know in some universities you have to write a personal statement about your gap years. Is that required for USID?
No, not really. No, no. We don't really. Yeah, if you've taken like a 1 year gap, we're not going to question that. If you're taking like 2 or 3 years, we might question that if a CV is not included or you haven't done any work or studied. We just need to prove that nothing really happened in between that time. That's all.
Also, someone asks if that applies for most universities in Australia, and I believe so it does.
I believe so. Like Australia doesn't really place any sort of value on gap years,
Mm.
essentially. And we also have students coming in at all different ages or different times of their lives. So it's as long as they really have the sort of background to start their studies and actually be evaluated for your study, then for us, it's fine if you've taken a gap year.
Mhm.
Mm.
All right. So another question, what is the pathway to business to gain a bachelor's degree? Is this another program to get into university?
Yeah, so if you're looking at a Bachelor of Business, which at the university is called a Bachelor of Commerce, all you really need to do is actually have an SAT and English if you're doing the K to 12 Philippines diploma, and that's it. All you need to enter into the university or apply to us for direct entry. If you don't have an SAT, then you can do pathway study like foundation, and those are the best ways to actually get in to the Bachelor of Commerce. It is quite competitive, actually, though. So but there is no specific quota. So as long as you meet the requirements, you will be made an offer.
Oh yeah, I've heard that UCID's foundation studies can range from 4 months to 12 months. Can you confirm on that?
Yeah. So it ranges from about 4 months to 12 months, especially for K to 12. A lot of the Filipino students don't need extensive English assistance because obviously you guys speak pretty good English anyways in the first place. So most of you guys can actually basically graduate in July and go into the accelerated foundation course that starts in September, finish in January, and then go straight into university by February. So that is probably one of the best ways that you can actually do the pathway study if you do not want to do SAT.
All right. Another question. How does your university's emphasis on research, which was mentioned as a factor in the rise of your university rankings, attract
Mm.
aspiring applicants?
So this is more towards probably PhD and master's students, or even students who are very science-based, for example, because in order to progress in those areas, if you're not going to go into corporate, you're definitely going to go into research or some sort of research capacity or have that background. And in Australia, research is actually quite important because it gives you a lot of opportunities and skills that you didn't think you needed to be able to advance in different jobs. If you just have a bachelor degree, you get up to a certain point in your career before you actually get stalled because you don't have the necessary experience to be able to actually move forward. Now, honors and research at the university is quite rigorous, and even having but because most of your degrees will require some sort of a research paper for one semester or full year research component in your degree, it proves to an employer a number of different skills, including again, because I've done an honors for a year and then I realized I didn't like research at all, but at least I did it. And my employers can actually see on my survey, I have done a 20,000 word thesis, for example. That proves perseverance, that proves knowledge, data analytics, sorting out critical thinking. There are a lot of things you can actually think about that as well. And I think from the university, and universities in general in Australia, research is a very important factor for us. Although, most students don't actually move into research and PhD, but the ones that do, they are excellent researchers and they're actually your teachers as well. So in saying that, it means that you're really learning from the best and the people that are actually in the top of their field.
Mhm. All right, everyone. So since it's almost time's up, I've sent a link that will lead you to USID's newsletter. So feel free to sign up if you want to. Okay, a few more questions. Is there a strong
Okay.
Filipino community within the university that can help students feel at home?
Yes, I love the Filipino Student Society. They help me do a lot of activities, including doing campus tours, schools that visit us. So we had College of St. Augustine visit us a couple of weeks ago, and we had the Filipino president, Filipino Student Society president, and their treasurer actually come along, and they've been great at actually helping students really settle in because they have their own peer mentoring system in the first every semester where new incoming students get matched with an older student and you get to spend a couple of weeks having touch-ins or check-ins every single week to see how you're going, making sure you're welcome, telling you where to find the best Filipino food and where to actually get your grocery shopping done. All those little things that are really important, making you feel at home. The Filipino Student Society do for you guys. So I do highly encourage you guys to actually join, especially even if you don't go to the University of Sydney and you go to another Filipino society in the other universities such as UNSW, Macquarie, etc. they are all really good friends. They have a lot of intramural kind of activities that they happen together. They all go ice skating together. They do meetups together, movie nights. So it's not just University of Sydney based. It's actually a huge Filipino community based as well, regardless of where you're studying.
Yeah, I've actually heard that the Philippine community is super good in Australia. Like, I know one person from my school, like in my high school, that had a
Mm.
position in the Filipino Society of USID. I think she was like vice president, if I can
Oh,
remember.
what's her name?
Bea Avelino.
Oh yes,
Yeah, her.
oh you're an Ika student, are
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Ika.
okay, yeah. Bea is doing very, very well at the moment. So I'm very, very proud of her. She's a cheerleader. She's like at the cheerleader society. She went on exchange in New York. She did everything that everyone could actually do at the university. So I think she's almost graduating soon as well. She's in her like final year, I believe.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Ah, awesome, Ika.
Yeah. All right. It's 8:59 in the Philippines. So that wraps up our session. Thank you so much, Miss Wendy Chang, for your time tonight.
No worries. Thank you so much,
Let's see you in
Sophia. Good to
Sydney
see
again.
you. See you in Sydney.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so everyone in this breakout room, please go back to the main room. Our second session is gonna start in a bit. So yeah, break like the what we did, breakout rooms are gonna be assigned again. So yeah, thank you guys.